we're always creating mental images whenever we think of things. But to do so intentionally suddenly becomes a little bit more difficult. It's kind of like stage acting or movie acting. We're supposed to kind of just be ourselves, which we're always being, until we're told to do so on the stage. Well, just kind of be yourself, and then that suddenly becomes a real chore. And that's what acting training is about. That's one of the things that it's about, is how to do that on command. It's kind of the same with creating mental images. Whenever we're sitting around thinking of something, like something that happened last week, we have a whole picture of it going on in our heads. But many of us, as soon as we're told, create a mental image of such and so, well, then it becomes a bit of a struggle. Well, to be able to do so with precision and clarity and with clear outlines and in full detail of any specific thing that we want to form a picture of in our minds on purpose takes some practice. And there are systematic ways to develop that ability. And like I said, I'm going to give you some techniques here, just some things to do and how you want to implement them into your practice for later use that we'll get to later on. Is kind of up to you, but I want you to bear in mind that if you pick one or two of these things to do, don't do all of them every day right at first. Just pick one or two and stick with them. Stick with it. Stick with those one or two for at least, I would say, 21 days. That's one of the general guidelines, remember. Let something solidify, crystallize, some technique crystallize for about 21 days, because to really get the full benefit out of any specific technique, you have to do it at least for at least 21 days every day. That makes the foundation for a mental habit. Just the foundation for a habit to start forming, for the benefit, the habitual benefit of some mental practice to start forming. It takes at least 21 days. So before moving to some next thing in this list, I would say pick one or two of these and do them, it or them, for about 21 days, and then change to something a little bit more difficult or add something else in. Just take it in easy steps. Okay, now another general guideline here when it comes to mental images is to if you're familiar by now, which I hope you are, with the importance of the mental images that we produce, whether we mean to be creating them or not, whether they're just happening or whether we're sitting down to do it on purpose. The quality of our mental images is extremely important in our lives. The kinds of mental pictures that we carry and that we're creating, or that we are allowing in to our minds by way of our sensory input to be transformed into the pictures that we are casting on the screen of our consciousness, is very important, extremely important, much more important than most people ever consider. So if we're allowing in or creating mental images of violence, well, this has a very destructive effect on our psyches and on our personal development, our personal evolution, and our overall achievement, long and short term considered, than we may know. It's extremely important. The quality of our mental images is vital to our success with personal involvement, movement towards true selfhood, self-actualization, however we want to look at it, our maximum performance in life. We want only constructive things that are in correspondence with our refined motives. Hopefully you've gone through that, the rigor of that set of videos that I have posted here in this playlist. We want our mental images to be consistent with our motivating goals. And if a mental image, if we become aware of a mental image going on in our minds that is not consistent with those, then perhaps we want to immediately replace that mental image with something that is. All right. Now, here's something very simple to do, and I think I have suggested this elsewhere here in this playlist, but I just want you to do something very simple here to get started. You can practice this for the next 3 weeks, next 21 days if you want to. This is one of those things that you can do, but at least for right now, to just get started, I want you to just take a look at your hand. Place your hand, let's say, on your lap, and I want you to look at it with your eyes open. Just look at it and lift your hand. Here, let's say right here's my hand, okay? I'm going to look at it. There it is. I'm looking at my hand now. And I'm going to focus my attention on it as fully as I possibly can. Of course, at the moment, I'm also thinking about making this video, so my attention is a little bit multitasked right now. But I want you, when you do this, if it's after this video or even right now, just place your attention on your hand, your visual attention and your mental attention. When I say visual, I mean look at it, and I make a distinction between that and your mental attention. You know, placing attention on something doesn't mean look at it with your eyes. It means focus your mind on it. In other words, exclude other thoughts. Every time another thought comes in, refocus your attention back on your hand. All right, so visually attend to it and mentally attend to it, your hand. Okay, now move your hand slowly and keep your eyes focused on it, your gaze pointed at it, right, and your mental attention focused on it. Right? I want you to see it. The third thing I want you to do is make a mental picture of what your eyes are seeing in your head. Make a mental picture of it. In other words, here's my hand, okay, right there. I can see it with my eyes. I'm mentally focusing on it. Also, I am mentally attending to it. Now, I'm also going to create a mental picture of what my eyes are seeing. And that mental picture is going to appear to me, okay, to be right about here on the screen of my consciousness, in my head, you know, my mental image. And actually, mental images are just about right out here in the mental plane, right? Right about out here, a couple inches in front of our forehead. That's why mental pictures seem to be right in front of our head, right in the front of our head. They're actually a little out a little bit further than our physical head, okay, physical forehead. Well, I want you to make the picture in your mind right out about here. See this, okay? There goes that cat panther again, that my cat making noise when I'm making a video. Back there. All right, she's settled down now. All right, so I have 3 things going on. My eyes are looking at my hand. My mind is focusing on my hand. I'm attending to it mentally. And now I'm adding in a mental picture right about here of what my eyes are seeing. All 3 things. I want you to know the difference among these 3 things. The gaze, the physical gaze, you know, what I'm sensing with my eyes, my mental attention on what I'm doing, my mental focus, and my mental image. Those are 3 different things. Now I want you to become aware of those three different things. They're not the same thing. You can vary any one of them or any two of them and keep the other two or one the same. Learning to manipulate these as distinct things is a very, very powerful mental faculty or ability. All right, but now create the mental image while watching it with your eyes and mentally attending to both. All right? Okay. Now what I want you to do is to put your hand back down, close your eyes, and see the same thing again. See your hand moving. Just repeat in your mind now, visually, what you saw. I want you to just go with a mental image of your hand moving. All right? Like that, but with your eyes closed. Still see it and repeat it 3 times. 3 times in a row. Repeat that movement that you saw. All right? With your eyes closed. Still see it 3 times. Do it 3 times. Okay? It's just a little exercise in creating a mental image on purpose. And it should be pretty simple because it's something you just saw with your eyes. You just watched with your eyes and you mentally attended to it. And you also created an image of it in your mind while it was happening with your eyes open. So now you're just replaying that mental image 3 times with your eyes closed. All right. Now, next thing to do, here's another thing to do. Here's another one to do. Like I said, that one you just did, the one we just did, you can do that every day for the next 3 weeks until you get really good at it. Really good at it. I mean, master the thing. If this is one that you're going to do for 3 weeks, master it. Attend to it. Okay. Now, here's another one. Here's another one. You can take an object. A pen, for example. I happen to have a pen here. I'm going to look at it. Okay. Now create a mental image of it. Put the pen down. And I want you to see that pen mentally with your eyes open or with your eyes closed. I don't care for this one. Doesn't matter. But I want you to see that pen out here in front of you. Out here. Put it out here. Like I said, mental images really, are taking place in the mental plane out in the front of our forehead. Well, I want you to see that pen right out here in front of you, like it's hanging right there in front of you, like it's right here. Okay? Except it's not physically there. I want you to see it with your mind. The purpose of this one is to project that image out in front of your forehead and see it out there, just hanging in space, okay? Mentally. I want you to get really good at that. And while you're doing it, move it around. Mentally, not physically, all right? But while you see it out there, watch it slowly turn, spin a little bit, maybe revolve around. Look at it from different angles. Look at it from different angles. And here's another thing you can practice. You can practice the pen staying still and you moving around it. Okay? You moving around it and looking at it from different angles. Underneath, up on top. Right? Practice that. Get good at it. Okay. Here's another one. Here's another one you can do. Form a mental picture of you walking outside and walking around your house or wherever you live. Apartment, whatever. If you live in a huge building, inside a huge building, you can picture yourself walking down the hall, walking outside, going around. Some familiar scene. that's very close to where you're sitting right now. Just close your eyes and take a little trip around your house or whatever's relevant to you. Look at all the objects, like you're actually taking a little walk and right back to where you are right now or wherever you started from during the exercise. There's another one you can do. And while you're at it, you can throw in other senses. If there's something that a smell along the way, go ahead and smell it mentally. If there's a sound, go ahead and hear it. Okay? Have the experience. Have the experience. Get direct mental experience of taking this little walk around your house or whatever's relevant, whatever is similar and relevant. That's another thing you can practice. Now here's another good one. This one is excellent for turning short-term memory things into long-term memory things. This is a very good memory aid. Most people's memory difficulties are short-term memory difficulties. Rarely does a person have long-term memory difficulties. It's usually the short-term stuff. The things that we only need to remember for maybe one or two uses, like where we put our keys last, or something somebody just told us that we're supposed to go do, and then we get there and we forget what they said, or where we parked the car when we went to the store. If there's a large parking lot, if we went to the local Walmart or whatever. Sometimes we walk out of the store and we just can't quite remember where we parked. We have to go searching for the car. These are short-term memory things. And it's, like I said, usually the short-term memory things that give us a problem. Where did you put your keys? Where's your wallet? What did somebody just tell us? What did we do yesterday that we're supposed to now remember? Somebody says, when you went in town, did you stop at such and such place? If you went into this particular place and you talked to so and so, did you remember to tell them this particular detail? And you might go, oh, geez, I don't remember. These are short-term memory things. We usually don't have much of a problem remembering things from our childhood, when we were really paying attention to things and they became committed to long-term memory. One of the reasons why we can still remember them is, and why they are long-term memory, is because we paid close attention when these things were happening, and we rehearsed these things in our minds. We went over them and over them as we thought about them. Let's say you took a trip when you were a kid. Your parents took you somewhere. Okay? And you can still remember that trip. You can still remember places you stopped off, maybe a particular visitor center or some candy bar you bought. And I bet you the reason why you can remember these things from a long time ago is because they were new kinds of experiences to you, and you went over them and over them in your mind after they happened because they were so interesting. You really got your attention, and you had mental pictures of those things going on repeatedly. And that's how they got committed to long-term memory. So if we're having short-term memory difficulties now, we can do that same process with things as they are happening on purpose and commit them to long-term memory. Then we circumvent the short-term memory problems because we turn them from short-term memory things into long-term memory things. So here's what you can do. The next time you go park at Walmart, as you are pulling into a parking space, I want you to pay attention to what's around you, what car is next to yours. As you're pulling in, What does it look like as you're pulling in? Just pay attention to what's going on, okay? Well, I mean, look over there at the Walmart sign at the store, maybe 200 feet away or 100 feet away. Look at it. Look at the surroundings. Listen to the sounds. Listen to the sound of your car, whatever's going on. Picture, see the people walking by. If a horn blew nearby, somebody honked their horn and somebody maybe they know that they see walking by. Pay attention to these things, all right? And as soon as you stop your car, take another look around, where you are physically in the parking lot, the surroundings, the sounds, what you are doing physically in the car. Pay attention to these things, and then close your eyes and repeat the whole thing. Instant replay of pulling into that spot and everything you've noticed about where you've parked and what things go with it. Sounds, smells, the feel of the steering wheel, everything. Relive that experience, that last 10 seconds or so that you paid attention to as you're pulling into that spot. Your relative position to the store, any lamp posts, light poles or that you're parked near, any of these things, all the circumstances involved, as many as you possibly can that you paid attention to. Once you've stopped your car, before you get out of the car, instant replay all of it in your head as clearly as you can 3 times in a row. Okay? And you can talk to yourself while you're doing it, as you're going through it. You can say these things to yourself. Everything that you are noticing in your instant replay. The stores to my left, about 100 feet away. If I look straight out my window, I can see, I'm looking straight at the W of the sign Walmart on the front of the building. There's a blue car to my right, about 15 feet to my left. There's a light pole. And so forth. You can tell yourself these things. The more you fit into it, the better. And do it all 3 times in a row. And pay attention to it and to how it all feels. Okay? Then get out of the car and go in the store. And I bet you when you're coming back out of the store, you don't have very much trouble finding your car. In fact, 5 years later, you might still remember where you parked your car that day. Because you will have committed it to long-term memory. Mostly through the use of the mental images. So, you can look at it as a memory training thing. You can look at it as a mental image training thing. Look at it however you want. I'm proposing it as a way, as a cool way to practice creating mental images on purpose. But it has a lot of side benefits, like learning how to make long-term memory things out of short-term memory things so that you won't forget them. Things that you need to remember. Imagine the benefits of making a good, strong practice out of this. More benefits than you can probably imagine right now. Okay. Here's another one. Let me see. I have made some notes here. I mentioned moving your hand, seeing an object in front of your head, the quality of your mental images, the parking. You can do the same thing with your keys when you come home. Once you come home from Walmart, after you've done the parking thing, all right? And then you lay down your keys inside your house. Do the same thing again with where you put your keys. Same procedure. Again, it only takes a few seconds to do this, really. Especially the better you get at it, you can focus right in on this procedure, this technique, and just get really good at this technique. Okay, you can do it with your keys then too.